It is our pleasure to be joined by the OU College Football Hall of Fame coach. He was our coach. He's the man. He's also the head coach of the Arlington Renegades in the XFL. About to get the season started. Bob Stoops is in the house, coach. How we doing, man?
I'm doing great, Gabe. Good to be on always with you and Teddy, and back on the sidelines. I can't wait for Saturday.
Yeah, so we're recording this before you guys have your first game of the season, and let's just start here, coach. What made you want to do this again?
Well, it's just football. It's my job before through college was all those years. 80% of my job is managing everything other than football, academic situations, academic meetings, compliance meetings, recruiting meetings, on and on. Or Johnny's homesick, got to get on the phone with parents. And this is just 10 straight weeks of football. Working with a bunch of guys that are just on the outskirts of the NFL. Bunch of them, most of them have been in NFL camps recently or a year ago, and they love football. They pick the game up quickly. And a bunch of really good football players, so really easy to coach these guys. And again, it's exciting, fun football. And Arlington works with my home in Norman and my family for them to come down back and forth. Of course, I'm down here for a few months renting while I'm coaching the Arlington Renegades. So it just fits me, for this point and what I want to do with my life.
I think people forget the logistics in running a football team, from equipment to players and housing and getting people paid. It's just, it's a huge undertaking. So what's been different, maybe better, or, second time around, getting this thing kind of going off the ground, as it's not easy and you're getting a bunch of people into a new area. What did you learn from the first and maybe implemented the second time around?
Well, a lot of it's very similar to what we did the first time around, so it makes it a little bit easier, but you got to have the right guys. I've got, Matt McMillan, our operations guy for all my 18 years there, was with us for 19 years at OU, and we work great together. So he has a lot of the logistics, and our player personnel director, Rick Mueller, also does an incredible job with our players and in and out and updating our roster constantly. So it is a little smaller roster, as you and you guys would know. It's a 51-man squad that we're working with 45 active on game day. So there isn't 120 players like we were used to managing. So that part of it makes it a little simpler. And again, you're dealing with older, mature guys that know how to handle themselves.
So what's the process been like regarding the build up to the season, right? Every team, from what I understand, every team is practicing there in the Arlington area. And then you guys are flying out. Now you don't have to go anywhere, which is awfully convenient for you because, everyone's there, and then you get to stay there and play your home games at the old Rangers Stadium. But how do you feel about the way that is functioning this year? You a fan of it?
Well, everybody here has been working together in a really good way. So, yeah, for practices, we're all here in Arlington. We share our stadium with for practice with Houston, the Houston team, and then we've got 3 other locations. So, we got 4 locations, 8 teams, 2 teams at each, and even at the hotel where we share our hotel with Houston, and it's been great. Wade Phillips is their head coach, so everybody is coordinated well. We practice in the morning, they practice in the afternoon. Then you just flip your meetings, opposite that. So it's really worked well, I think, for our leadership and all our top, our ownership, leadership, everybody, for them to be able to travel around and see everybody without hopping on an airplane and communicate with everybody. Sorry, but then the good part is, as you said, these teams are going to go to their home cities for games, and that'll be exciting for their communities, their home bases, and I believe that's a plus. So basically, everyone other than us will be traveling every week. We get 5 games in our stadium, And I guess if they're playing us at home here, then they don't have to travel that week. But everyone else, though, through the week, that'll be different. But again, it's smart, I think, to get back to the communities, get some excitement in those fan bases. We're all trying to get out in the afternoons, the day before games, to do some charitable work in their communities. So all of that's been, has been received well by the players and coaches.
How about, on the field stuff, X's and O's just kind of stylistically resemble more of kind of what you see on Sundays in the NFL, kind of given the layout of the field, or is there quite a bit of carryover from some college offenses and defenses?
Well, listen, there's a lot of carryover in today's world from college to the NFL for the last 5, 6, 7 years. They copied RPOs, screens, all of that stuff. So yes, it's very much like watching a pro offense or a good college offense. It's the same kind of thing, and a defense that's fairly complex but easy to learn.
Looking at the process of assembling your staff, right? Clearly, I saw Chuck Long and Jonathan Hayes, two guys you've known for a very, very long time, are going to be your co-OCs. You got Jay Hayes running your defense. Did you just call them and say, hey, guys, you want in? Like, what was that process like assembling your coaching staff for the Renegades?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. And I was talking to Jonathan and Chuck first. Of course, they were with me for 5, 6, maybe Chuck was with me 6 or 7 years, Jonathan 4 or 5. We were all on the national championship staff together. Everyone knows we all played ball together at Iowa, and they're very accomplished coaches. So yeah, I called Jonathan and Chuck, and Jonathan, I didn't know might get a head coaching job because he had the St. Louis team, the first go around in 2020. So the conversation is, if you're not going to be the head coach, do you want to come and you and Chuck run the offense? And Chuck, same thing. If you're not going to go with Jonathan to a team, come with us. And they get along, they're best of friends, and we all are very close friends. So anyway, it works really well. And then Jonathan, Jay Hayes, his brother, was his D coordinator the first time around, and worked with Tim Lewis, our other co-coordinator. They've all been together through pro ball and the first time around. So it's really worked well that these guys have all worked together and know how to practice, against one another. All of it has really been great.
You mentioned that, there's a lot of the personnel, a lot of the players have been recently in and out of the NFL, practice squad guys, or maybe didn't make the cut in the last training camp. There's a lot of good football players out there that don't make it on rosters. So just, personnel wise, what are some of the guys maybe to keep an eye out for as they watch you guys take the field Saturday?
Well, I really like our quarterback, Drew Plitt. Threw for a gazillion yards at Ball State. I believe a 4-year starter at Ball State. He's been with a couple of NFL teams, and just hadn't quite been able to, to stick with it. Got other guys. I mean, Jordan Smallwood, really good, OU guy at receiver. We've got some strong running backs. We got Keith Ford back at running back. Some guys on defense, guys like Will Hill. Safety, played on Florida's national championship team when they beat us. Really a good player, along with Josh Hawkins at corner. And I really believe overall too, our D-line and O-line, and I'll be interested because we haven't seen anybody else, but I really believe they're really strong, both sides of the ball.
So you mentioned you've got a, player personnel director and all that. Like, how did the roster construction process work for you guys?
Yeah. Rick, along with constantly through the fall, the defensive staff, primarily coordinators, studying, watching guys that are available, as well as the offensive coordinators and staff, and in particular, our O-line coach. You trust them, coordinated with the player personnel director, to be evaluating players through the fall, players that are just released from NFL teams, or all of a sudden don't want to play in the Canadian ball anymore, don't want to play in the USFL. When they're available, now we're getting all the video we can of them, watching them play, evaluating their play, evaluating their size, strength, speed, just seeing if they're a fit. And as well as a lot of these coaches know of players from being in these other leagues. So again, really just relying on the assistant coaches and Rick to really know who they want for their positions.
Now, I know you guys are all in the same area and sharing some of the same practice fields and stuff for practice, but I doubt you're exchanging practice tape for scouting the upcoming game. So how does that process been like, trying to get an idea of what you're going to see on Saturday?
Yeah, you can practice against each other. It didn't work out where we could have for different reasons. And then we had a practice game that we were set to play against Orlando. And then it was when all the 3 days of ice appeared in Dallas area here in Arlington. And I know it didn't quite get that way in Oklahoma, but we had 3 full days of straight ice. So the games in all were canceled. So we really haven't been able to match up against anybody to really get an idea. But, whoever's coordinating in offense or defense, they have a history. And that history generally doesn't change a whole lot. So all these coaches and, we know the background of what their coordinator, where it is and where to get film and tape to study what they really like to do.
Coach, you keep mentioning, like, it seems like you guys are watching a shit ton of tape, man. I mean, like, just trying to, with the players and the schemes and everything. And I know how seriously you take your preparation, right? I remember how seriously you took it when you were coaching us. How did you stay sharp in the off season, like into the buildup and this? Like, what was your process when it came to studying and watching and staying sharp?
First of all, I don't think you can say shit ton on a podcast, can you?
Oh, well, it's
Come
too
on,
late.
Gabe. You got to watch your language. There might
Hey,
be
I
a
let
young
him go,
person.
man. He's a bad influence, but I let him go.
There may be a young person out there listening, but I always, through my time, I've always studied. When I watch games, I'm not just watching the ball run around like most people. I still watch it as a coach, looking at schemes, looking at defenses or blocking schemes or whatever it may be. And then even at Fox, I had to watch a lot of my catapult. I was on that catapult every day. You guys know what that is. You get any game you want anywhere, and constantly watching players and schemes and what coordinators are doing. And then again, so that really wasn't difficult. You don't forget how to ride a bike. You don't forget how to walk. You don't forget how to watch a game if you've been coaching a long time.
Did you guys install the merry-go-round play the Kansas City Chiefs have been running where they all dance around in a circle?
I love it. How about those guys? Boy, we had a bunch of happy Sooners on that team, didn't we?
Yeah. I went to the game, Coach. It was a fun time, man. It was.
Yeah,
Sat with Creed's parents.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Hey, what a name he's making for himself. Isn't that awesome? He needs to get some kind of beer commercial. Is all I know.
He's got a partnership with Boulevard, that beer company. So he is.
I'm sure it's going to become popular.
Yeah, he's going to be really rich very soon, like very, very rich. But
good.
As far as because we are recording this before you guys play your first game. How does this roster compare to the one you had in 2020, right? Because there's been some changes in the league, the ownership group. Like, how do you think the rosters compare?
I think overall through the league, we did a better job overall of getting a bigger and better pool of players. So I think this year we're going to, it'll be comparable, but I think I feel like my team is a lot stronger, both sides of the ball, than we were in 20. And I think across the league, there was a bigger and better pool of players to choose from.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing is the television partners that you guys have. I mean, that's always critical, and you guys are going to be Saturday afternoon on ABC. That's about as big as it gets.
Especially, the whole world surely a good probably 75% of it is disappointed when football's over. All after the Super Bowl, there you've watched it all through, since late August, and now here we are. So I think we got a perfect window to jump right in the weekend after the Super Bowl with 4 games, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and hopefully it'll be great. But we do have great partnership, ABC, ESPN, all the Disney channels, so it won't be hard to find us.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, and I can't wait to watch. Now, the big change between now and the 2020 version of the XFL is the ownership group, right? The Rock is on board. Dude is one of the most famous people on the planet. What's it been like, especially with his background in football, playing at Miami? He understands the game. What's it been like working with him and that new ownership group?
It's been great. They love football. You're right. Not only Dwayne Johnson, but his ex-wife, Danny Garcia, one of their other primary owners, and Jerry Cardinell, part of the ownership group as well. They've been great. They're really down to earth, easy, nice, fun people to be around. They've been invested. They really have a great vision for this league, and are going to do all they can to promote it and push it. And I know they're all going to be at our first game, here in Arlington, here at Choctaw Stadium, 2:00 on Saturday. And yeah, I know that the fans will be excited to see them all.
Should have drafted him. It looks like he's still play out there on the edge a little bit.
Believe me,
huge.
No doubt, he's huge. He's in great shape, and he works hard at it. He flew in here for some meeting we were all having with them, and they said he was working out in our facility at 4 a.m. the night before, that morning. So anyway, he's going to get his workout in. Doesn't matter what time of night or morning.
I know that you had an incredible time at Oklahoma. You had an incredible amount of success, right? Coaching there. But it seems like you're really enjoying this thing because it's just football and you don't have to deal with any of the other stuff. Do you ever stop and think like, hey, maybe the NFL would have been more for me, especially with some of the changes that we were seeing towards the end of your tenure?
Well, it would be now. Not when, back when, there were some serious conversations I had a couple of times with some other, NFL teams. I felt my yearly schedule, family schedule, the way we worked was better and more positive than the NFL schedule would be through the year. Well, that has all changed now, with year-round recruiting, NIL, transfer portals. The NFL model now to me is much better and more attractive than the college model. And so I would have listened a little harder if I was still in it at a couple of those opportunities.
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on. College football's not going to stop changing. We've got a 12-team playoff coming, and I guess the big news around here is it's official that Oklahoma is now headed to the SEC in 2024. What'd you think of that news when it came out?
I anticipated it all along. I think all parties need to get on and move along down the road. So I thought it would be good for the remaining Big 12. I knew it would be good for us. So it's just coming to the right agreement, and I believe they did. Just think of the fan excitement now for the Norman, Oklahoma, filling that 85,000 seat stadium and all those suites and all. You think they're going to have any trouble selling those when Florida's coming and Alabama, LSU, whoever? I mean, on and on. It's going to be exciting. It's different. But I think it just financially ensures our future, our entire athletic program for decades to come. And all that extra revenue, you got opportunities to help every other sport on campus, men's and women's. And that's a positive. And it's going to make a big difference, I believe, in the long run for us. Sure, everyone, games will be tougher. Sure. But you look at our history through the years, you guys know, we played everybody, in non-conference schedules. heck, I want to say one year, I forget who, I want to say we had Oregon and Alabama or something along those lines. So, we understand that. But I think overall it's going to make us stronger and better as a football program and, of course, an athletic program.
Some people seem to think OU's going to get to the SEC and just become irrelevant, Coach, right? The comparison people want to make is Nebraska and what's happened to them since they got to the Big Ten. What's your reaction to some of that stuff that people are saying, that OU's just kind of going to float off into the abyss?
I think it's ridiculous. If you look at our record against current SEC teams, look at our record against them over, in the last 15, 20 years. And that's what we're looking at is the next 10, 15 years, right? So all you got to do is pull it up. And our record against them overall is the current SEC teams. And, it's pretty strong. And that includes A&M and Missouri, right? Everyone wants to say, well, wait, that's not there. Let's wait. Only talk about when they were in the Big 12. Well, listen, they're still Missouri. They're still A&M. They're still whoever. And our record through the years has been pretty positive against everybody. And so anyhow, we're not going away. I think it's going to make us stronger.
Man, I agree. I think it is going to make us stronger. I feel like Oklahoma's always played their best football whenever they're tested the most. And you mentioned like a lot of those big games, whether they're bowl games or non-conference games and big opponents going on the road, seems like we play our best football. And I think it helps with that. And also I do think that there's going to be, it seems that, A&M and, the schools that have joined the SEC got a bit of a recruiting bump. And I don't know, I feel like it's always been used against Big 12 teams, like the NFL numbers and stuff coming out of the SEC, but they're not going to be able to use that against you anymore.
No, that's exactly right. And I think it's going to make a difference. Look at our recruiting even this year, after a tough year. And so anyway, and I go back to, my last two of my last three, we beat Auburn my last game in the bowl game. We beat Alabama a year or two before that in a bowl game. Lincoln takes Georgia, who's now dominating, but just his first year, I think, they go to double overtime in the Rose Bowl, right? So it's not like we went up against Georgia and got, heck, at halftime, we're a couple scores ahead. So, it's not, OU isn't going away. And, that's, and we're a little bit different than Nebraska in geography and everything else that's happened. And plus our last 10, 15 years have been a little bit different than theirs.
There's no doubt about that. Now, 6-7 in year one under Brent Venables, right? Do you think, is it just like he needs a little more time, needs to build the roster? Like, how did you see that first season for Coach V?
I think all of that, and I knew it would be tough with the number of players that left our program for different reasons, whether not just transferring, but also graduating or moving on to the NFL. All right, and then you got new coordinators both sides of the ball. There's some growing pains there, and I obviously that showed, and I believe Brent. I got total confidence in him, and it's a little bit different when Lincoln came in. I had walked out, and the whole system though was there in place, ready to go, right? And there's some differences there. I'm not taking anything away from at all what Lincoln did, or minimizing Brent's challenges, but he had more challenges, and I believe, I believe in him. I believe in his staff, and he just needs time, and no one wants to hear that, but I believe they'll be much different this coming year.
What were if you can remember back, what were the differences for you? And I know record wise is obviously massive, but whenever you took over at Oklahoma, there was a ton of transition, like just kind of like what Venables had, players, coaches, everything. When is the point where it starts to come together? Is it 18 months? Is it what's that timing look like?
Yeah, well, for us, it was that second year. Obviously, we went undefeated, and we were 7-5 in the first season. And truth be told, I don't really feel Brent was very far off. When I think our last 4 losses were by a field goal in the last, late in the game, and so we're a couple plays away from, having a similar first year that we had there, in '99. But I believe this year they'll be much stronger team. I really believe that overall. Guys are used to their system now and have experience in it. I don't follow all the recruiting and the portal stuff, but it sounds like we're much stronger overall when you look at the roster, and that matters. Players ultimately win and lose games. You guys have heard me say that a million times, that ultimately you're going to win and lose. Not us as coaches, or not me as a head coach. You guys make or not the plays on the field, and I believe they'll have a stronger units in every phase coming up this year.
Another year for Drake Stoops. How about that?
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm happy for him. It's it's all whatever whatever it's his life, whatever he wants and whatever he wants to do. And he was back and forth on his decision, but ultimately thought this would be positive for him moving forward, and wanted to come back and do it one more time.
Yeah, I'm fired up because I think he's one of the leaders in that locker room. Coach, just one more thing I want to ask you about, and then let you get out of here. How's the tequila business, man? How's rock and roll going? Give us all the updates. What's going on?
The rock and roll tequila is moving strong. We're in, I think, over 40 states right now, and Texas is just opened up in Texas just a couple months ago, so it's moving. It's rocking and rolling, as they say.
I was thinking maybe you guys should get Creed going, but he may take you guys right out of business, man. You turn the lights out.
Yeah, that's a good point. We may have to talk to Creed about being one of our spokespersons.
The Rock's got his own tequila, a little tequila competition between you and ownership. I like it.
Yeah, that's why I don't think I'll be getting a rock and roll tequila bath if we win a game here this weekend.
That's smart, Coach.
I'm not getting in his lane. You can be sure of that.
Yeah. You'll just stick to the football piece of things, Coach. You're the man. It's always fun catching up. Best of luck this season, and Ted, we got to get down to a game, man. We got to go watch the Renegades.
Welcome anytime you want. I'll take care of you.
All right, Coach. You're the man. Thank you.
All right, Gabe. All right, Teddy. Appreciate you guys.